Hey everybody, it is Rolly, and we are on day 10 of our soulful journey. And so I have been jumping on for the last 10 days, sharing some different topics and some discussion around each one of the topics. And so some of you have joined me on some other sub um, challenges inside, which I'm really excited about. So lots of really great things going on, lots of great conversations, lots of great discussions about what it is that it means for us to be able to be on this transformational journey in September. And so, so today is a crazy day. I have been busy trying to get some Sunday cleaning things done and organizing before my week begins as I get ready to head over to hang out with my grandson and my daughter-in-law and son as we prepare for a birthday dinner on top of that. So yay! So anyway, so today's topic is spiritual practices for everyday life. And so I thought that was actually kind of interesting. I had planned all these out, but I didn't look at to see what days that anything was. And so I always get really like, wow, this is like so cool. So a lot of people practice spiritual activities on a Sunday. So whether it's religious or whether it's like just downtime, whatever it is that it looks like. And so very interestingly, today is Sunday. And so, and this is where we're actually having this conversation. So I just thought that that was actually kind of cool that that's one of the things that is having that conversation, or that we're actually having this conversation today. So one of the first things that I'm going to do before I get into and dive into spiritual practices for everyday life is that I want to define spiritual, because one of the things that we often hear, or that I often hear, is like the whole spiritual thing falls under religion or falls under practices that are not necessarily things that people would necessarily practice. And so I wanted to start off with unpacking the term spiritual first before I actually go into anything. So I'm actually going to read what it is that I have written down here. So we're going to actually unpack the broad range of practices that fall under the umbrella of spiritual. But it's also important for us to be able to remember that it's not just about religion or esoteric practices. Mindfulness and gratitude can also be spiritual. So it doesn't have to be any specific practice that you're doing in terms of being able to connect with your spirituality. Your spirituality is that outer piece, that inner self, that outer part of ourselves that is the higher beings, just being able to, whatever it is that looks like for you. So oftentimes if I make reference to God, for example, then I will often say, or whatever it is that means for you, because not everybody will follow one particular thing over the other. And so like spiritual practices is not necessarily a religion. It's not necessarily part of the esoteric practices. Like whatever it is that means for you is what that spiritual piece means. So spirituality isn't always grand rituals. And what I mean by that is it doesn't have to be like these great big huge things. So like I know that for me growing up as a Catholic, that was one of the things, is like, okay, well, get on your knees and pray. And so like it doesn't have to be like these great big huge grand things. It can be, if that fits for you and that works for you, then you do any of those things that actually make sense for you. But it doesn't have to be any of these, like, so having to go and do like a full on day of being able to connect. So being able to just have this moment of tapping into yourself, or tapping into your higher power, or tapping into whatever practices that you have going on, is so it doesn't have to be huge. And so because oftentimes that's one of the things that I do that happens, is that I end up losing people in the conversations, because it's like, okay, well, I don't want to have to practice church activities, or I don't believe in the esoteric practices. And so then oftentimes people then get lost in that whole practice, or those, they limit themselves to those specific times or things because of the word. And so just really important for us to be able to kind of have a look at how that looks, and what can be done differently, right? So one of the things is that the beauty of spirituality is that it lies in its own versatility, right? So like, again, going back to like, some people practice Buddhism, some people practice some type of religion, some people practice meditation. So it all depends on what it is, and just being able to kind of tap into what it is that works for you, and how that and how you can actually connect with that within your own sacredness and your own connectedness. Because whatever it is that you believe is right for you, whatever it is that somebody else believes is right for them. And one of the things that I have with my clients is that there's not one particular thing that we discuss or that we talk about that is like set in stone. It's like, if it fits for you, then use it. And if it doesn't, then don't. So one of the things that I always say is take what you need and leave the rest. And so, because that is super, super important for us to be able to do. So one of the things that I'm going to be talking about today is about being able to, how can we actually weave spirituality into our daily practice, into our daily lives, and how we can actually make things look differently than the way that we have necessarily. So it's not just a Sunday thing, or it's not just a Sabbath thing on Saturdays. Whatever it is, that it's like, you have different practices or different ways of being able to do this that will allow you to be able to tap into that spirituality and tap into that grace that that comes with spirituality. So one of the things that I'm going to talk about is how to be able to integrate it into our daily lives. So there's a number of different things. So again, I'm going to go through a number of different things. Take what you need, leave the rest. If it doesn't apply to you, then just move on to the next. It doesn't have to be any one thing in particular, and it doesn't have to be exactly the way one particular person suggests or does it. And so if I am sharing something and it fits within your lifestyle, I'd love to be able to have some feedback on how that works for you, where does that go, and how to be able to tap into that. So one of the things that I often suggest is being able to tap into a mindful morning ritual. So something that allows you to actually just be present in the day, present in the morning, before you actually go into the hustle bustle of all the things that are actually going on in our lives. And it just helps us. So if we can actually get grounded and get connected within ourselves, and or our higher power, whatever it is that looks like for us, is just being able to figure out, how does that morning ritual work for you, and how are you able to integrate that into your morning practice. So I have a friend who, part of her morning practice is that she will actually meditate with a cup of coffee. And so she will actually go and have her coffee, and she will sit by, she lives by the water. So she will actually go and sit by the water with her coffee and just breathe in the air of her coffee as she takes those deep breaths in. And it's just her moment of being able to, so she'll reflect on her day, whatever it is that's going on, and like nothing really more than just being present in that particular moment without going into like the checklists of all the days. It's just like, okay, so it's a beautiful morning, or oh, it's kind of chilly this morning, or whatever it is, or it's like, oh, I got to wake up with my baby today, or whatever it is that it looks like for you, is just being able to develop that mindful morning practice. The next one is a gratitude practice. And this one here, you can actually integrate it throughout the entire day. So being able to integrate gratitude with your meals. That was one of the things that we talked about earlier when we were doing the mindful eating conversation. And so like just being able to like just gratitude in like what the day looks like today, looks like the whatever the being able to just take a moment to be able to honor somebody important in our lives, being able to, even for those of us who are actually going through any type of grief, is just being able to acknowledge that one one particular thing, right? So like if I take a minute and I'm thankful for some of the lessons that I learned from my dad, who's no longer with us, and whatever it is, like even some days it's like, oh, my babies aren't babies anymore. Right. So we're going to have a birthday dinner today for my baby, who's no longer a baby, but will always forever be my baby. Both of them will be. And so, but it's just being able to just take a look at like what's going on and what is it that I'm grateful for today. And then again, going back into mindful eating is the next one. So treating every meal as though it's a ritual. So like just really being able to just take that moment of being able to engage in whatever it is that we're eating at any point, at any time. And being mindful, noticing the flavors, noticing the texture, noticing whether it's warm or cold, noticing whether or not it gives us like sensations or tinglies because of sourness or sweetness, whatever it is that looks like. So just being able to create that deeper connection with food. The next one, the next point is conscious breathing. So just being able to just take a moment to just focus on our breath. And that's something that we can do anywhere. So like when we're sitting at a stoplight, when we are in the grocery store, standing in line, waiting to pay, just being able to just focus on our breath. What is it that we're noticing about our breath? And whether it's fast or slow, and just the activity of focusing in on our breathing will actually slow things down and slow the rhythms down. And even if we had just finished going for a run and we just stop and say, okay, focus on my breath. Oh, okay, it's a little bit more shallow because I was like running, and so like now I'm trying to catch my breath. Whatever it is that looks like for you. The next one is nature connection. So engaging in with nature daily. So sometimes, especially as we are moving into fall here, where we are, it's going to be days that it's like, yeah, I'm not going to stand outside. I'm not going to go stick my feet in the grass. So like oftentimes, like our freezer is in our shed. And so I will go to the shed to go take something out for dinner or go grab some bread or whatever it is that I have to go grab out of the freezer. But it gives me that moment to, and typically right now at this time of the year, is that I do not wear my shoes. I just walk from my door into the shed and then I come back in again. And so that is just an opportunity for me to be able to feel the ground beneath my feet, walk through a little bit of the grass because there's a little grassy area before I get to the shed door. And then being able to just take that minute. And so like in the wintertime, then it's just being able to just stand at the window or at the door and just watch the door. Or watch the weather, or in a rainstorm, whatever it is that looks like. So just connecting with nature is just so important for us to be able to have that connection. Acts of kindness. So performing small acts of kindness daily can be a beautiful way to embody spirituality. So it also fosters a sense of compassion and a connectedness to other people. And so just being able to just send a quick message to somebody to say, hey, or it can be opening the door for someone, or it can be sending somebody a quick note, dropping off some warm food to somebody, whatever it is that looks like. So just a random act of kindness of something that you're not doing it because you're hoping to get something out of it. And we always get something out of what it is that we're doing, but I'm talking about like the quid pro, apparently I can't speak today. Right. So like, so just not something that we have to, like, we're going to be doing something so that we can get something in return, specifically something in return. But like when we do something kind for others, then we get this warm, fuzzy feeling already, right? So just really important for us to be able to do that. So spiritual reading or reflection. So whether that is reading the Bible, reading a quote, pulling some oracle card messages, whatever it is that spiritual reading or reflection means for us is one of the things that I encourage you to engage in. So just find something that allows you to be able to just really tap into that piece. and evening reflection. So at the end of the day, being able to take a moment to reflect on what it is that we've learned for today. So what is it that we've had that we can move to the next level? And so being able to set our intentions for the day, like that kind of thing. So really important for us to be able to do that. And then the last one is infusing that spirituality into all of our daily tasks. So whatever it is that that looks like. So how can we make things just that it's just that part of things that just allows us to be able to stay calm and peaceful, and I am the first person to be able to say that there are moments or there are times when being able to stay calm and relaxed is really difficult when you have to deal with difficult people. So whether that's at work or at home, it makes it really hard for us to be able to get back into that energy when we have had to expend other energy that is not necessarily peaceful or loving or caring, whatever it is that that looks like, is just being able to come back into that space and allowing ourselves some forgiveness when it's not always going the way that it needs to. And so, yeah, so that's kind of where that goes. And so the last point that I wanted to talk about before I get into our actionable takeaway is the ripple effect. And so when we do these different things for ourselves, then it ripples out to other people. And so when we are angry and bitter and frustrated and all those different things, then then that ripples off to other people, and it makes it really difficult for other people as well. And so when we can actually do that ripple effect of like being positive and happy and joyous, and like I said, I will tell you that that is a very difficult daily practice for me at times, because I am surrounded by somebody who is not very kind, not very loving, not very respectful. And so then I tend to like really gravitate towards that. So if I can actually just try to be more mindful of my own energy, then I can keep my own spirits up and be able to tap into who it is that I am and why that's important to me. So one of the things that I've shared in the past, in the last little while, is that so I'm the glass half full person. And so, but lately I will say that this has been a couple years probably now, that it is hard some days to be able to be that glass half full kind of person. And so, so just being able to be gentle with myself and reminding myself that I am still who I am, as much as sometimes certain people will bring out the not so positive in myself. And so just remembering that I am loving, I am caring, and taking time to do that every single day, so that I can stay connected with that. So going into our actionable steps. So our actionable takeaway for today is that I invite you to create a 5-minute morning ritual. And so what does that look like for you? And so like if you need an example, then let me know. And I would be more than happy to share a 5-minute morning ritual. But the other thing that if you're interested in is I invite you to actually craft a spiritual toolkit. And again, I have a download for that. So if you would like to have a copy of that, then send me an email at info@rollyalaire.ca, and I will be more than happy to get that off to you. And yeah, so that's where I'm at today. I am going to head out now so that I can go and spend some time with my family. And yeah, so that's where things are. And I will chat with all of you guys later. And I will be back on again tomorrow with another topic. Talk to you guys soon. Bye for now.